Okay, well, we're live everyone for the first attempt at our Q&A session. Thanks for tuning up. We're going to start with Liz down at Montes Alexandra for the first question today. So, Liz, how are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Great, thank you. So really keen to see what sort of questions you have that we can get answered for you today and others can share in the learning. So what's top of mind for you at the moment?
Well, one of our biggest challenges at the moment, which is scary and exciting, is that we have a lot of opportunities for marketing and selling at the moment. And it's about our so for the last couple of years, we've worked on me working on the business and not in the business, and now we're at a level where some of our senior management need to be doing the same. But we're still at that novice stage, I guess, where they need to be working in the business to get the work done. But there's so many opportunities for them to work on the business. How do we prioritise their time?
Okay. Okay. So it's one of those good problem times in business, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's just break this down. So first of all, what we've got to have at all times is that clarity on the company's 3 to 5 key priorities. So that's really important to make sure that the work is being pointed in those 3 to 5 key priorities of the business that will achieve the company vision. But then when we break that down to this leadership group you talk about, is then to start really looking at the 1s, 2s and 3s within their work and their tasks, and making sure that what is not happening with them is that even with the opportunities, that those opportunities don't just turn into a to-do list or these are the opportunities. It's actually every time an opportunity, a task, an action needs to happen, that it still in itself gets prioritized to be a 1, 2 or a 3. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so what I'm talking about there is if 5 things come in, they have to make a choice of what is a 1, which absolutely has to be done because it's a critical thing to do. A 2, yes, it does need to be done, but it doesn't get done before the 1s. And 3, it would be nice to get that done right now, but it is not as important, so it could wait a little longer, e.g. another week, another 10 days. And so the challenge that you've got as parts of the business grow and a lot is coming at one time is that you've really got to think about that sheep pen mentality of making sure that you're putting the things in the right pens and be thinking about the strategy of going, what is the criteria for dealing with that first? You know, that is a 1 because of this, and this, meeting the set of criteria, or it's a 2. And remembering a 2 is sometimes something that comes in, but at some point, whether it be initially or a little down the track, can be handed over to someone else to do within the leadership or the management team. So one of the things that might be worth looking at there is, you know, we don't want these guys to become a superior technician of their own area. And remembering we've got to link that into, and one of the great things about growth is it sets out the opportunity to really think long and hard about the succession planning processes you've got in your business. So if someone in a management team is needing to focus on something bigger or some new 1s, then are they leading the people around them to be able to take over those 2 and 3s? And the link to that too is also chopping those things that come in into parts, e.g., yes, I need to deal with the inquiry, maybe the phone call, but do I need to deal with potentially the follow-up? Which in your case, I know you're working on some more automated systems there that are going to improve the quality of that follow-up. That doesn't even have to be done by a person, it's just a touch of a button. And then looking at the sequence and then looking at who really needs to be involved with a sequence. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So it's just breaking it down, looking at really knowing your ones. And it is very, very important here to ensure that you don't create, as you grow, a culture of you and your team, leadership team particularly, getting overwhelmed by growth. Is to be very, very good at deciphering quickly what is a 1, 2, and a 3. And I'm not necessarily saying this in relation to perhaps what's in your mind here, but also what may present itself is also the need to say no to a lot more things that come through.
Yeah, I've had to start doing that.
Yeah. And that, that's part of growth, is learning to prioritize. I feel like with clients over the years, the challenge has been that they almost haven't wanted to decide on those 3 to 5 key priorities because they know that it's going to force them to say no. And we're in this industry where we want to be saying yes to people. Yes, we can do that for you. Yes, we can do that for you. But part of business is actually saying no to things, and that's a challenge for people. So I'm not surprised that this is coming up, because you are experiencing growth in your business. But now what you and the leadership team are going to have to figure out here and to have a conversation on is actually how good are we at dealing with growth? Because initially it was just figuring out how to grow.
Yeah. Now it's almost that we need to consolidate for a little bit. It's getting those layers in place. Those layers of leadership. Yeah.
And you're remembering too that as you grow here, and you've gone from learning to grow, there's a whole new set of skills that you and your leadership team are now going to have to develop. The old skills won't suffice anymore. And what are those new skills you need to develop? Is it prioritizing? That might be a skill that, when you have more time or less things coming in, you sort of pretty much say yes to everything, because you're just taking what can come in. Everyone that, every function or every group booking or you're saying, oh, well, yeah, we need that. But now when you're in a situation where, you're probably experiencing this to some degree, where, you're going to have groups booking for a Saturday night, and you've got a group of 50 and a group of 60. I mean, these are going to be new things that will happen, and there's going to be new skills developed around, well, how do we decide? What is the decision-making process? Whether we take that or that, which is to therefore say no to someone. The other thing that I would say here that is really important is, and it's well said in Kaplan's book, What to Ask the Person in the Mirror, is that when you're going through an incredible period of change, because what you're doing here, as more comes in, there's going to be changes just happening by the nature of more stuff coming in, but also the fact that you're going to have to develop new processes and systems, is to make sure, as he would put it, that you are over communicating at all time. Yeah, they're doing a really superb job with each other as a leadership group and with the team around you to make sure that you're over communicating at times of biggest change. The tendency, unfortunately, for a lot of business people and managers is that because they're so busy dealing with the change, they forget to be really good at communicating that.
Yeah, we do fail at that.
Well, I think it's, I think we all can fail at that, but it's just being mindful of it.
The big stuff.
And I realize
little stuff.
That's right. Yeah. So, and then getting, as I said, getting really clear about those 1, 2s, and 3s, and making sure that because what we need this, it's what it is, it's a filter, is what we're thinking here, is that as that comes in to one of your managers, they can go, right now, it's a 1, 2, or a 3. And if it's a 2 and 3, they're figuring out how to pass that on. And if it's a 1, they're dealing with that right away.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, what else? Anything else there? That's right. Anything else there that's top of mind in terms of questions that you're interested in and you think other listeners might be interested in?
Well, talking about that, so we're halfway through our first intake with our senior leaders, and our second tier leaders have begun the 002 part of the leadership
academy.
So we're working on trying to build those extra layers. What sort of level of leadership and what sort of level of leadership do I need to be giving them, or does the 001s need to be giving the 002s to make the most of that commitment?
Okay. One thing I'd say right off the bat there is to make sure that one of your key responsibilities in terms of the why they're doing it is to remind them every time you speak with them, if you're working with them on the academy, of the need to understand the relationship between what they're working on and the vision and the key priorities of your company. So don't lose sight of that. Don't get caught up with the detail of the program without reminding them of where it's pointed and what direction it's pointed. Of course, you've made an investment in them, but it's also an investment in the business. So what the good leaders do is they take detail, or they take learning, and they are very, very good at relating learning to the vision of the company. And so as you're working with them, that's one of your primary focuses, is to make sure, so how does this relate to our current key priorities, which the key priorities relating to achieving the vision of the company? And I would be suggesting to you every time you meet with them and every time you sit with them, that the first thing you do before you even touch the content of the program is to go through and remind them of the vision that you've got for this company, and remind them of the key priorities that you've got in place, the 3 to 5 key priorities to achieve that vision, and then start talking about the content of that. As opposed to, I'm not saying you necessarily are, but don't jump into the content without it having context. Content without context can get lost very, very quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I know, and I'm
to so far, but actually the next few units it's going to have to be worked on.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh.
So that would be for you. That would be what I would be focusing on. Is your responsibility here is to make sure that the big picture is front of mind for everyone, and the understanding that whatever they're doing and whatever they're working on, whether it be the work they're doing within their daily work or doing the program, the course, that this investment, this support you're giving to them is critical to help achieve the vision of the company. So your job is to let them understand or teach them the importance of seeing into the future a bit. They're not so good at that. Now, when I say, we don't want them living in the future, we do want them thinking about the present. Okay, the manager and the technicians, we need them thinking about today and tomorrow and the next day. But we also want them to be thinking about, for the company, why are we learning this now in relation to where we're trying to go? And also individually for themselves, which I'm sure you're doing, but reminding them that, now, how clear are they about their own personal vision? Just remembering, we're looking for creating an environment for your team where their personal vision and the company's vision have that sense of alignment. When those aren't aligned, that's when the gap appears, and that's when people go, or that's when people get disconnected. So I know, and I'm sure what you're doing here is doing a really good job of discussing the detail of it. But I think the biggest thing to remind you of is to remind them of the importance of this in relation to the bigger goal. Yeah. And remembering what we're trying to do there too is always give something that might appear small, huge gravity or huge context to something bigger than the task itself. So although the task might be to complete the course, or to go and do a systems audit, or whatever the piece they're at, they're doing that for a much bigger reason than just simply doing that task today. And the entrepreneurs and the leaders that do that the best are the ones who build the most successful companies, where everything's important because everything's geared towards those priorities and the vision of the company, which they all should be very excited about, because you are.
Yeah, it does rub off. So what do you do if you are teaching them and you don't feel like your learning is deep enough for them?
Okay. Well, that, again, it's a good problem to have, that they're starting to come up to your level. So first of all, it's making sure that you've all, well, the people that are on the academy have got every opportunity, whether it's through us or through the people that are on there, is to find out what the reading list is. So making sure that all of the books on the Leadership Academy reading list you already read. So that's really important. Have you got a specific example? Because I've got a point I'd like to make, but I just want to make sure I'm on the right track here with you. Is there an example of that you could give me?
I guess the good to great in the hedgehog concept.
Okay.
As you know, I struggled a little bit with trying to identify what they were meaning around the economic denominator, and I oversimplified it too much. And so, how, when you're just learning to understand that stuff, how best to communicate to them. So that's the one that's propped up that I didn't have a deep enough understanding to be able to teach.
Sure. Well, a couple of things that would come to mind. First of all, and this is the case in anything in life, is that we don't know everything. So sometimes it's about just saying to them, guys, I need to do a bit more work on that, and I'll come back to you with some thoughts that I've got. The other thing, though, that I agree with is that when you don't know all the answers, sometimes you just need to ask. Not having all the answers, sometimes a great opportunity to ask questions. And say, well, I'm not 100% sure on that as well as I need to. What can we all do in the next week so that we all come back wiser to it next week? So you're sharing that a little bit, and you're actually presenting an opportunity to actually ask questions around it, as opposed to always being the foundation of all of the knowledge all of the time. But what I'd say is that, yeah, absolutely, you really need to make sure that what you are doing, though, is spending the time on, reading through the literature yourself, and getting a handle of that yourself, so that you can be prepared for them. And maybe, I don't know, has it highlighted the fact that between when you learnt it the first time and when they asked you about it, was this yesterday or this week they've asked you about that?
Last week, yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So, all that highlights is a bit of a gap of your understanding there, but I wouldn't be, I wouldn't be too concerned that you're not, in terms of knowledge, years ahead of them. But what you might want to do is just to talk to me or talk to who you need to about it, and making sure that you are spot on and really understand that. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, so well, listen, is there anything else? We've got a bit there for everyone, and I think a bit that everyone can listen into. This is the first of a regular system that we're looking at implementing into the business. So thank you for your questions today, Liz. We appreciate that. And for those that want to join us next time, please keep an eye out for info through our social media, and provide your questions and answers like Liz has today. So thanks, everyone, and I'll close the broadcast now. Thanks. We'll talk to you soon.